Okay.
Where are you guys located?
Upstate New York, like 3 hours north of the city.
Best place on earth.
Yeah. I'm very familiar with upstate.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no comment.
Okay, let's see here. Okay, well now is, rapid fire number 12 with David Hayter, who voices Snake in, Metal Gear Solid. And David, thanks for doing this with us.
What? Oh, hi! It's my pleasure. Happy to be here. I was just reading some David Hayter-centric magazine material.
Of course. What else are you supposed to read?
Well, exactly. I can't be reading about other people.
Okay. Did you have any questions you wanted to ask or anything?
I didn't really have any questions. I just kind of, I'm sure all the time when you're at cons and get-togethers and such, and you meet fans, they say how big of fans they are of yours and everything, and I didn't want to be as cliched as that. I kind of more just wanted to thank you, because Metal Gear Solid was probably I think it was the first game I ever touched on the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, and it kind of started a chain of memories for me up until now, and I still enjoy all the series. So, wanted to personally thank you for that.
Well, thank you for saying. As people usually know, I am also a big fan of those games, and I would imagine if I were a younger man that they would have made quite an impression on me.
Oh yeah, it's kind of.
It's a weird thing to, having played the games myself, to know just how much of my voice that people have had to listen to over the years.
Right.
To me, I sort of go in and I do the job and it's really fun, and I play the games and that's really fun. But when I meet people, and they're so, people are like, "Oh, I'm freaking out and I can't even talk." It's a weird,
kind of surreal thing.
It's a weird thing. I mean, I get it because I've seen the games, I've played through the games myself, but it's always a little surprising to me. But thank you for saying.
My whole family, let's get this out of the way first. My whole family and I love the series. I don't know if you can see it, but I have a Snake poster. Yeah. we love it, so it means a lot.
Actually, I do
Well, thanks, yo. Thanks, yo.
Yay. Okay, go ahead.
I just came up with a question.
Oh, good.
It was rather easy to get, like the perks of the first game, either the bandana if you beat it or the stealth, depending on what choice you make in the torture room. And you said you played the games, but I don't know how religiously you play them like I do. Have you ever actually done...
I play them sacrilegiously.
I'm sorry?
I play them sacrilegiously.
Have you ever gotten like every dog tag, or in the third game you've gotten every frog? Tried to dedicate doing that?
No, I did get sort of obsessed with the frogs, and I did try to find them all.
Right.
But then it just annoys me because you spend hours and hours. I just went through this on Batman Arkham City. You spend so much time trying to figure out the Riddler things.
Oh my God.
Getting the frog, and the dog tags, and you don't really, and all you get are little rewards, and they say, "Hey, way to go!" And I'm like, "Well, is my self-esteem so lacking that?" No, I've never gotten them all. I play the games because A, they're great, and B, I'm in them. But mostly I play so that I understand the experience that people have when they play them, and so I sort of know how the scenes played out, and I know how the game impacts you emotionally, and then I can have conversations like this. It sounds like a boob. It's always it's disappointing when you meet somebody, who's from, you meet somebody from Star Wars or something, and you're like, "Hey, what about that scene where the Ewok attacked the AT-AT?" And they're like, I don't know what that is.
Yeah. Okay, well, I also love Splinter Cell, and a lot of people online pit Sam Fisher against Solid Snake, so I want to know who do you think would win in a fight?
Oh, I don't know. Who could it be? Well, you know, obviously I side with Snake because he's a sympathetic favorite for me, but I love Michael Ironside. He's one of my acting idols, and he has one of the greatest voices in the history of vocal cords. So, you know, so it's certainly not said with any disrespect that Snake would kick the living bejesus out of him.
Of course, no, of course. Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more question, and then we'll get to the rapid fire part.
I have one more too. I just thought of it.
Okay, well, you go ahead. Go ahead.
Just because of how high of an impact it had on me when the second game came out, Metal Gear Solid 2 came out. How did you feel that you're not necessarily not as much in the game, because, you know, Snake was in the game plenty, but that you weren't really the main focus as the character's, you know, player?
Right. Yeah, that was a bit of a surprise. I sort of figured that out as we were recording the game. You know, I recorded the the tanker incident first, so that was like, oh great, we're back to the thing, and then suddenly I was Iroquois Pliskin, the grumpy mentor, and then Raiden was the lead character, and I was like, I don't think I'm overly thrilled about that, but no, it's not my decision to make. The game was already made by the time I signed on, so I mean, it was fine. But I did suspect at the time that there might be a little fan backlash because, you know, you grow so attached to Solid Snake in the first game. I think it was a little jarring for people to jump into Raiden's skin. You know, for me playing it, it was still fun. I got to, you know, sort of crank at it the whole time and be the curmudgeonly mentor. So it was still fun. But I was surprised, and probably the same way the fans were.
Okay. I'm a writer, and I know that you write. And I'm curious about what got you started writing, and like who your favorite author was, if there's like a specific person that inspires you to do that.
Yeah, well, I'd say my two favorite authors are probably Stephen King and Bill Shakespeare. He was good. You know, I was obsessed with Stephen King from about the time I was 12 and read everything that he put out, and I just think his prose is incredible, and he's able to communicate so much. And I also spent a lot of time studying Shakespeare from about the time I was 10. We have a big Shakespearean festival outside of Toronto that I used to go to every year, and then I started taking acting classes and doing these Shakespearean roles, and you know, again, the manipulation of language is so beautiful and profound, and so those things really inspired me. And I sort of studied writing through the 90s, just to become a better actor, to sort of understand the writing of the scripts better and all of that. So, but it wasn't until I got a job on Aspect that I thought that I'd be a professional writer.
Cool. You have good taste.
Sorry?
Yeah, I said you have good taste in writing.
I do have good taste. You know, I left college early, or well, right on time as far as I was concerned. But I only did a year of it, and then I said, well, you know, I could give myself an education, and so I spent the last 20 years reading a lot of classic literature, which sounds kind of snooty, but it's actually, you know, there's some really good stuff. You know, Old Man at Sea, I read Catcher in the Rye, Lolita, which was amazing, Dostoevsky, you know, things like that, things that Woody Allen would read, and you really get an understanding of literature and the English language and how things have evolved over the past couple hundred years, and so I've tried to develop a taste beyond your average college drop.
Sounds good. And smart. Let's see here. Okay, so on to the rapid fire questions. He's going to ask you another question later. Oh, we are? Okay. Let's see.
That's rapid fire.
Okay. So the first question is, what is your favorite quote from anything you've acted in or written or whatever?
Wow. Well, that's a good question. There's a lot of things that I was very proud that the line. There was a line in Watchmen that Rorschach says to the child murderer. He says the guy's begging to be arrested, and he's killed his dogs and everything. And Rorschach says, "Men get arrested, dogs get put down," and then
Wow.
cracks his head open with the cleaver many times. And I particularly like that line. I was glad that lasted through the process. There's a line there's a bit of dialogue in Youth where Xavier explained. We figured out after X-Men 1, Bryan Singer said to me, "Hey, our lead character has amnesia, and one of our other lead characters is the most powerful mutant psychic in the world. Why can't he just get his memories back out of his head? And we have to explain that, otherwise we're idiots." And or maybe what he said was, "You have to explain it, otherwise you're an idiot." So I came up with a speech where, Wolverine says, I want you to look into my mind again," and Xavier says, "Wolverine, the mind is not a box to be opened and closed. It is a beehive with thousands of different compartments, and to just reach into it, I might be able to retrieve your memories, but I might destroy your mind in the process." Something along those lines. And it was particularly sort of a fake pseudo-psychic explanation, but it was clear for the audience. Everybody knows what a box is. Everybody knows what a beehive is. So, so I was pretty proud of that as well. And I also liked in that same scene when Wolverine, Patrick Stewart tells him to put out his cigar and puts it out on the palm of his hand. He's got nowhere else to put it out. Because I love those little details of what it's like to live as a superhero. If you have no pain, you can heal instantly. Then pain is a different thing to you. It's transitory. So you can put your cigar out on the palm of your hand. It hurts, but it just goes back. So those are. I mean, I've said a lot of things as an actor that were really cool, but I don't know. I don't spring mind at the moment.
Okay. Question 2 is, what's your favorite pickup line?
Excuse me, are you familiar with the movie X-Men? I don't know what my favorite pickup line is. I haven't been single for a long time, so I don't recall what my most successful pickup lines were. I think what I did a lot of traveling around the world by myself, and I really would go to bars and just try to sit and look intense and interesting until somebody came up and spoke to me. I was kind of shy. So that was my MO for a while.
Okay, question 3 is, what's one unconventional food you'd like to see introduced into the bedroom?
Oh, wait. Well, that's a fascinating question. But before I should say, in relation to your first two questions, my favorite pickup line may be, "I never realized an analyst of military technology could be so cute."
Perfect.
Answers. What sort of food do I think should be introduced into the bedroom? None. What are you doing in there? Like, you're gonna get crumbs in the bed. I mean, I suppose if you're gonna go with a food, I mean, maybe strawberries are sort of the most appropriate, but you're really going to get juice everywhere. I think it's going to be more fun than it ends up being. I would recommend that you keep your eating to the kitchen and the dining room and your love making everywhere else.
Good advice. Okay, what's your favorite swear word? And you can make one up.
My favorite swear word?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess. I mean, it's so obvious, but I can say whatever I want.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, I guess you're not ruled by the FCC. I guess fuck would be my favorite swear word because it's so applicable across a number of platforms, and still carries a sufficient amount of shock value to startle people at times. But I kind of like the way the term. I kind of like the way the English use the word cunt. It's not so offensive there as it is here, and it's usually applied to a male. So I'm kind of jealous that they're able to use cunt in that way. Oh, he's a bloody cunt. You know, it just sounds
sophisticated.
better than it does.
Almost, yeah. Okay, what's your favorite horror movie or book?
My favorite, one of my all-time favorite books, and I guess it's technically a horror movie, The Stand by Stephen King. I think that's amazing. Although I just reread Christine, which I also love, and Salem's Lot is one of the greatest, most horrifying books I read. My favorite horror movie, I think the best horror movie ever made, in my opinion, is The Shining. I think, because I write genre movies, sci-fi and fantasy and horror, things like that, the key is to tie the fear to something real, to something we can all identify with. Mm-hmm. And the fear of being murdered your own mother is so horrifying and so intense, and you're a little kid and turns on you in a murderous way, I think is a truly devastating terror that all of our inner children can feel and appreciate. Plus, Stanley Kubrick at his best. People say that Jack Nicholson is over the top. I think he's amazing in the movie, and it's so beautifully shot. So that would probably be my favorite.
Good choice. That's your favorite, right?
It is. It's also my favorite too.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, you're trying to break
breaking
up a little
up.
bit, but,
yeah.
I'll assume you like The Shining as well.
Okay.
That was brilliant.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah. Yep, and I think Nick has one more question for
I
you.
do. It's funny because I didn't really prepare questions. I just they started flowing out when this started.
Sure.
The last one I have, I'm currently in college, and I hate it, but only because of the type of college it is. I want to go to like an art college.
Okay.
But I've always loved the idea of voice acting, and you said that you were, in college for kind of a short amount of time and everything. It's kind of another cliched question, but how would you, what advice would you give to someone who's aspiring to kind of, start in that career path?
Well, the college I went to was an arts college. I went to a theater school in Toronto, and again, we did a lot of Shakespeare. We did a lot of stage work, accents, singing, stuff like that. So I sort of developed a control of my voice that really helped me out when I started working in Hollywood. And so I would take voiceover classes, things that teach you how to read commercial copy, how to do animation. People think, oh, I'll just go in and I'll just talk, whatever. But the people that really work in the business know their stuff, and they have total control over their voice. And, it took me a long time before somebody said to me, if you're going to audition for a voiceover, you have to read it out loud. You have to go outside and read it out loud, or you'll get into the booth and the things you're saying won't sound like what they sound like in your head. So, fortunately you're a young guy. You've got lots of time to practice and get really good. And through those classes, you can meet casting directors. You can get a tape made. You start to build relationships in the industry that will allow you to work. And so if you take a commercial casting director's class, well, now you know a commercial casting director who has a personal relationship with you. So that's the way to do it. Like anything, it takes perseverance, and you just gotta audition again and again and again and again until you start figuring it out, until you start getting work, until the community starts getting to know who you are. So that's probably my best advice.
Awesome.
And good luck.
Thank
It's
you,
a pretty,
I appreciate it.
yeah, it's a great, it's a really fun job, I have to say. You know, as Chris Rock so eloquently put it on the Oscars, you know, it kicks ass.
All right. Well, like Nick said, every time you say something, it makes me think of another question. So I have one more quick question, then I promise it's done.
Okay.
I know you love voice acting, and I know you love writing, but would you do? And I know you've done Guyver, which was real life acting. Would you do like acting on a TV show or something like that?
Yeah, I love on-camera acting. I once I became a writer and I didn't need to do it anymore, I stopped pursuing it because pursuing that work is a pain in the ass, because I can already stick gun. But I love doing the job. So now I sort of have a rule that if somebody asks me to be in something, I'll do it. So I just starred in this film, Devil's Mile, which is coming out this year. And they just asked me if I would do it, and it was so fun. And I got to be a psychopath. And so it was really, I would love to do that. And plus, I tend to think that I'm fairly funny, and so I would love to go back and do sitcoms again. I did Major Dad back in the day, and so that's a really fun process as well, because you do it in front of a live audience and they're laughing. It's like doing a little play. It's really fun. So I would do it, but I'm not gonna knock myself out trying to get that work, because I don't need to.
Right.
But now I have a question. In your photo for Twitter, you're holding your arm up and you have a tattoo there.
Yeah.
Is that a Japanese Enso circle?
It's actually I know there's a word for it. I can't think of the name right now, but have you seen the show Millennium or heard of that show with Lance Henriksen?
I've heard of it. I've never seen it.
Okay, well the front cover has this Ouroboros. That's what it is. It's the snake eating its own tail.
Oh yeah.
And
okay, because I have this.
Oh, that's
which
awesome.
That is a Japanese circle.